Hello, welcome to BoxPred. This weekend, George Groves is going up against Paul Smith in another interesting fight here in the UK, and this is for George Groves' British and Commonwealth super middleweight titles. When this fight was made, I did think, if George Groves is not careful, this could be a stumbling block for him. And we're all anxious to see how George Groves does after defeating James DeGale to win the British title. And just wondering what type of George Groves we're going to see. And that is the difficulty with predicting this fight and looking ahead at it, is what George Groves comes out. Are we going to see the type of George Groves who moves around the ring on the back foot like he did against James DeGale, absorbing some pressure, slipping out of the side, counter-punching, racking up the points? Or are we going to see George Groves get into a bit of a scrap with Paul Smith? Because Paul Smith can have a scrap. Paul Smith does have a chance in this fight because he has the power to hurt Groves. He's a good, solid boxer. But I will say that, looking at the facts, Paul Smith has never really... I see him as a domestic level fighter here in the UK. He's never really, for me, pushed beyond the boundaries. I know he did win sort of an international title at one stage, but that doesn't really count for a lot because there's so many belts going around. And I think the key for Paul Smith here is, does he, let's look at it, does he pressurise? Because DeGale was trying to pressurise Groves and he was getting frustrated. So if you're going to try and pressurise Groves, if Groves comes back and his team has given him the same game plan, we know that George Groves has the ability to, and the footwork, to slip out the side and frustrate you, and possibly tire you out, if you're trying to throw too many and missing all the time. So, how does Paul Smith approach this? But Paul Smith is a pretty much, quite an aggressive fighter. He likes to be on the front foot. I don't think he really wants to come on the back foot because DeGale put him on the back foot in their fights. James DeGale became the aggressor, and that didn't suit Paul Smith because Paul Smith, got stopped in the 9th round, and he was really out of his comfort zone. So I think Paul Smith really does want to be on the front foot in this fight, but with DeGale, I thought DeGale chased George Groves too much. He didn't invite Groves enough onto him. There's a certain level, a certain stage where you should say to a fighter, I'm not going to chase you all night. You have to come to me as well. And there's a certain way, I know it takes certain skill to do that, but I think that's what Paul Smith really needs to do. I don't advise him to chase Groves all night, because I feel that if DeGale wasn't able to pin him down effectively, then Paul Smith's going to have an even tougher job to pin him down. But Paul Smith is up for this fight, and he may just really go in for the kill and try and really pressurise George Groves. But I think he'll be frustrated. So I would really advise him to, yes, be on the front foot, do put your pressure on, but be aware that you can't chase Groves all night. You need to sort of draw him in as well. George Groves, I would say, I don't think George Groves' forte really would be to apply the full pressure on Paul Smith like DeGale did, although he may choose to try and do that. I think George Groves he showed great footwork against DeGale. He has the better hand speed in this fight. I think he has the better boxing ability in this fight as well. I think this is where he proves that he is beyond. He can begin to move beyond the domestic level, perhaps. I know he's Commonwealth champion, obviously, but maybe this is where he proves that yes, I am the top domestic dog. So now I can start moving towards, looking at a world title, moving up through the ranks to sort of secure a world title shot. It's good that he's fighting the likes of Paul Smith because this is a big test at domestic level, and even though this is good because it shows he's not getting carried away with the DeGale fight, which is good because I personally had DeGale winning the fight, but he's shown this is a level head from his team, getting him to fight another tough domestic fight and getting him prepared. I think that Groves comes through this one. I actually think that Groves stops Paul Smith late in this one. I think that he will frustrate Paul Smith. I think that even if he doesn't adopt such a backwards moving, back foot stance in this fight, he will still be able to use his reflex defense to frustrate Paul Smith. I think Paul Smith's going to get, stamina wise, he's gonna get a bit frustrated and tired, and I think that the main thing that will push Groves to get in a stoppage will be that he'll really want to, he knows the Gale stopped Paul Smith, so he wants to do it himself. And I think that although this could go the distance, I think I'm going to go around the 10th round. I think that George Groves is going to actually get the stoppage victory over Paul Smith. But this, Paul Smith is a very live underdog in this fight. He could be a stumbling block to George Groves, and this is just going to be a really good fight and a really good weekend of boxing. So I'm going to go for George Groves in this one. I think he has the skill to pull it off. I think it's going to come down to pure boxing ability at the end of the day, and I think George Groves is slightly higher level than Paul Smith. I think he's going to be a bit too quick, a bit too good on the counter punching, and a bit too slick in defence. So that's my thoughts. Please let me know what you guys think. I know there's a lot of contradicting views on this fight. In particular, a lot of guys actually going for Smith to stop Groves. So let me know what you guys think. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe if you do like my channel. This is BoxPred, and I'm out.